What's up, everyone, and welcome to Project XTalk, an Xbox podcast, episode number 109, presented by Save the Game Media. I'm your host, Kevin, aka The Muffin Mon, and today I'm joined by a special co-host. Ethan has the week off from all Save the Game Media content, so we are joined by the weatherman on the moose, Ryan Turford from Carpool Gaming and the Xbox Drive, the RPG Cave. What's up, Ryan?
Hey, that's me. That's who I am. I'm Ryan, the weatherman on the moose. Hello, Kevin. I hope you're doing well. I'm doing okay. You know, I went around and, as you can tell, totally jacked up on McDonald's coffee at the moment because I had to make sure I had my McDonald's coffee prepped and ready for our conversation today. Of course, over in the Xbox Drive, that's kind of an inside joke for us. But things are doing good. Things are doing good. We're in the heat of review season at this point because there's too many games at this point, Kevin. We're in month 2 of 5 of back-to-back game releases at this point. So I'm very excited to talk to you today about games and stuff.
Yeah, I was just looking, speaking of reviews, I was just looking forward, of all the games that I got planned out to play, the rest of this month, next month, even into January and February. It's it doesn't stop right now. Yeah. It's too many games. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I think when Resident Evil 4 comes out at the end of March, that's kind of where it seems to drop off currently as far as game releases at this point.
Yeah. And then they just threw Tales of Symphonia into February. Yeah. And they threw my brother was just saying he's a big Neptunia fan, and they just announced the release date for the next Neptunia game, which is also in February, in that same 2-week period in February.
The one that I told you, because I posted in our Discord, the Carpool Gaming Discord, that basically between the 10th and the 24th, there's 10 RPGs that are coming out. So, starting with Hogwarts Legacy, and then ending with the Atelier games and Octopath Traveler 2, and a whole bunch of crazy stuff. Tales of Symphonia is in there. Theat Rhythm. There's too many games, Kevin.
It's a good time to be an RPG fan, though. All right, the RPG Cave is going to be popping off.
That's true.
Well, if you guys like that, go over to Carpool Gaming. Check out everything Ryan and everyone over there is doing. Obviously, we pop over there sometimes. They pop over here sometimes. Great friends of the show. Love doing stuff with them. But if you like this show, we are live every Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern time right here on YouTube. If you can't catch us live, we post every Friday morning on your favorite podcast service. While you're over there, please drop us a rating, a review, whether it's Apple, Spotify, wherever they do reviews. It does help the algorithm, helps us grow. If you want to interact with us more, please come join the Discord. The link is down in the description down below. And lastly, our Patreon shout out. If you want to support us, get the Patreon shout out and early access to all of Save the Game Media's content, like No Limits, Frame by Frame, I Hate My Friends, and our exclusive shows. You get I Hate My Friends post show every week, and then it's going to be 4 Patreon exclusive podcasts a month. So 1 every week you get.
Dang. That's a lot of podcasts.
Yeah, right now it's 3. I think we're gonna make a one another a 4th. I haven't really told anyone about that, but it's coming. You'll know. So if you like that, please go to patreon.com/SaveTheGameMedia. Choose the tier that's right for you, like our current Patreon supporters. So shout out to Bucky Blue, Hopple, Alpaca Tom, Amon, SAZ, Fabulous Brianna's mom, Brianna's brother, Brianna's wife, Anna Hudock, Nikolai at Night, Cypher Primus, Brendan Myers, Marcus O'Neill, Always Be, and our newest patron, Megan Quinones, I believe is how you say that last name. Thank you all for your support. We appreciate you. And if I said your name wrong, let me know. I want to get it right. So tell me in the Discord comments. Just be like, Kevin, you're a big dummy. This is how you pronounce my name. But before we get into what you're playing, I want to talk about Extra Life a little. Okay, so if anyone missed it, this past weekend, myself and Taylor from No Limits went to Rome, New York. We met up with Sean Capri from Carpool Gaming and Mr. Badbit and Mr. K-Step from the Trophy Room. And we proceeded to play video games for 25-ish hours, I think, 24, 25-ish hours. And we raised $9,000. I think it was $221 last time I looked, but it might be up now.
Yeah, I was gonna say we just did like because we're actually announcing our prizes for tonight.
Yes.
So it actually has gone up since then.
Oh,
$9,246. In fact, we're like $700 away from a 10,000.
that's
Kevin.
crazy. So, as Ryan said, we will be announcing the prizes, and I think it's going to be a Carpool's channel. It might also be live stream here, 10 p.m. Eastern time tonight. So, if you can, if you donate it, especially come hang out, see if you win one of the awesome prizes like God of War Ragnarok Collector's Edition. So many more things are given away, but Ryan, we missed you there. It was a great time. Looking forward to seeing you next year. But you were in the
Mhm.
chat. We were playing games together. It was. I just can't say enough. Like I could go on and on about how amazing Extra Life was, meeting everyone, playing games. But I do want to just give a big thank you to Carpool, the Trophy Room, for teaming with us on this, and the community because we couldn't have raised over 9,000. Oh, over 9,000.
Over 9,000.
Without them coming by donating, obviously. So thank you to everyone for doing that. It means a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. I got a little bit of the FOMO, Kevin, because I was actually planning on coming, as you know,
Hmm.
but I couldn't get my passport renewed kind of in time for the event. But I definitely, seeing you guys play the games together on the couch and stuff, I was like, man, I'm like super jealous, and I can't wait for next year for us to be able to do this all over again. Also, I loved, one of my favorite moments involved you, of course. I talked about this on the Xbox Drive yesterday, but you winning the fighting game tournament for Smash, just
Yes.
us watching that as like I felt like I was part of the room while we were watching you guys do that because they turned the camera towards, oh, look at that, it's the fight stick Kevin actually
It's right
won for
here.
winning the Smash tournament. But
Sitting next to my computer.
yeah. But yeah, like it felt like I was, in the room with you guys as everyone was cheering. Both I was cheering from home while, everyone else was cheering in the room itself. And that was like really, really, really cool. And there was a lot of great moments as well. Obviously, we just put up a short on the Carpool channel actually with
Oh man.
Kevin and Sean teaching Kevin how to play hockey, which was interesting too. But lots of good moments from that weekend, I think. And
Crazy. Yeah. I
yeah.
just watched that short and it's hilarious. And he didn't even obviously can only fit so much, but like there were even some more moments of my bewilderment at hockey.
Yeah.
And I went back and actually rewatched the part where they had the camera focused on the Smash tournament because obviously I didn't know what the chat was saying, and and everyone was very supportive. Like I didn't know that at the time, but
Oh yeah.
thanks for everyone for supporting me in my efforts to win the Smash Brothers tournament. It was a lot
Yeah.
of fun.
Oh, absolutely. And we were all in Taylor's corner too. He was like this close to winning the
I
Mario
think
Kart tournament too.
third or something. Yeah.
It was almost a clean sweep for the Save the Game media at Extra Life this year for the two big tournaments. I know that there was a Rocket League tournament as well, but I don't think any one of us entered that.
They didn't show it on the big projector, so we don't even know. Like nobody knows who won that.
It could have been anyone. It could
Could have been anyone.
it could have been Sean, even though he was nowhere near it at this year. In fact, I was actually kind of surprised he didn't enter because he the last 2 years Sean had entered the Rocket League tournament. So I was actually kind of surprised he didn't sign up for that this year.
Yeah, well, I didn't know Sean was a Rocket League guy, but I didn't know a lot of things. But I didn't know he played FIFA. I didn't know he was so good at NHL, or I'm so
Yeah.
bad at NHL. I don't know either or. But
And also, one of the most lasting things that came out of this weekend, of course, Kevin, now is the new emote you guys got for your
oh
Discord
my
that came out of
god,
this weekend.
how how did you know about this?
People tell me things, Kevin,
Oh,
and then I'm like, oh, I need to find out more about this.
I was gonna say, are you in our Discord, Ryan? How could you possibly know? Oh my
I mean, the
god.
best part is, Kevin, I'm not even in your Discord, but someone posted it somewhere else, and then I saw it.
Oh my
And
god.
then I saw the video that you guys did about it. So then I was like, oh, I'll go watch this and find out more information about this, about how this came to be.
I hate it. I hate it so much. I'm getting bullied. I'm getting bullied by everyone.
We've now officially found Kevin's version of Jar Jar. It's officially happened.
It's yeah, for real. Next Extra Life, I'll change my profile picture to that emote. There we go.
Please don't. As someone who likes a good joke every once in a while, please don't do that to yourself.
All right.
Yeah,
Well, Ryan, enough housekeeping. I think we can get into what we do every week to start the show, and let's go around the room asking one simple question. That question is, what have you been playing, my friend?
All right. So I've been playing a few things. Number one, I've been playing that Star Ocean, the Divine Force. You and I had a conversation about this about a week and a half ago on the Xbox Drive, but I'm actually at the last dungeon in the game at this point. So I'm very close to finishing it. I'm about 20 hours in. So I would imagine by the 25-hour mark at the latest, I'll probably have this game finished, which is less than how long the beat says. I was actually expecting it to go on for another, 15 more hours at this point because it says it takes about 35 hours to finish. But I've been having a blast with this game, believe it or not. Like, even though it didn't really light up the Metacritic reviews at all, because it does have some technical problems. So I can definitely understand critically why it's not rated super high. But I am, having as much fun with it as I have with like any of the modern Tales games, because that's definitely what it feels like to me. It basically feels like someone at Square Enix was like, "Hey, those Tales games are really good. We should make our own Tales game." And Star Ocean hasn't done anything in a while, so let's turn Star Ocean into a Tales series. Basically, is what, because the Star Ocean series at Square Enix has always been an action RPG series.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always kind of shared some DNA with the Tales games, but this time they went like full blown, like this is like Tales of Berseria or Tales of Arise, to like straight down to like the combo system that you have in combat. Like, you can totally change and customize your combos with different moves you learn, and each move requires an ability point, and as when you run out of points, you have to stand still and wait for your ability points meter to recharge. Which, again, if that all sounds familiar, it sounds like Tales of Berseria or other games in the Tales series. But the story's really good. Again, I love kind of the mix of fantasy and sci-fi that's going on in this game, because like the first half of the game is very grounded in the fantasy stuff, but then they start to introduce more and more of the sci-fi elements, and to the point where you're like going through space into different planets and stuff like that. So I love kind of the mishmash between those two genres together, and I'm having a good time with that. I think the story is pretty good too. The storytelling itself with the characters is a little wooden and kind of it's just funny sometimes to see just some of the really bad voice acting, or just some of the really bad delivery by the player models themselves. But I'm actually really enjoying it, and I think it's definitely one of the better RPGs I've played this year, if I'm being honest. But I'll have my full verdict probably after I finish it this weekend, because I'll probably end up doing a review over at Carpool if y'all are interested in checking that out, if you want to learn more about it. Of course, there's also a free demo out there in case if anything I said sounds interesting to you. Definitely check out that demo on Xbox or PlayStation.
Yeah, I have to get to it. I want to try the demo, and it's just scheduling everything, because then I'm like, I already know, like 2023. I'm like, all right, I want to play through all the Ratchet and Clank games that they're putting on PS Plus, and it's a whole. I don't know how
you're gonna play through all those PS3 streaming games that they're putting up. Oh my god.
Yeah, that's what I think. I think so. And then probably do a video about like the history of Ratchet and Clank or something, because if I'm suffering through the streaming tech, I'm gonna turn it into content.
Yeah, you gotta make content at that point.
But no, I remember us talking about it last week, and or I think it was last week, 2 weeks ago. Either way, I'm excited for Star Ocean to finally give it a try, especially because it is the Tales. Have you played what's that Sega game that I think it's Shining Refrain Resonance?
Oh, Shining Resonance Refrain, yeah.
Yeah. Have you played that? Because that I thought was pretty similar to a Tales game too.
Yeah. That's actually, again, that's what I felt playing that game as well, where they basically took, it's actually a similar scenario as well, where like the Shining Force series hadn't been doing anything forever, and Sega wanted to do their own Tales-like game, so they're like, hey, let's put this together, kind of like what Square did with Star Ocean in this case. But yes, that one definitely, like Shining Resonance Refrain, definitely feels like a Tales game, and I like that game too. But it also, again, has a lot of its own problems too, especially if you play it on Switch. Oh my god, the Switch version of Shining Resonance Refrain is it's real rough.
Yeah, for sure. Are you playing anything else, Ryan?
So I'm also playing that game with that blue hedgehog.
There we go. That's the one I want. Yeah, hit me. This is the one I've been waiting for.
I've been playing Sonic Frontiers, but I haven't played it all that much because it did obviously just come out on Tuesday, and we didn't really have it early or anything like that. So my impressions are still very limited, because I'm also kind of reviewing the Sega Genesis Mini 2, which I was going to hold up to the camera, but it's covered in wires at this point. But Sonic Frontiers, I'm also really enjoying this game too because it has this nice blend between the open world elements where you can kind of run around everywhere as Sonic, solving all kinds of puzzles and beating these giant bosses that are just walking around the open zones. Combining that with like your standard, Sonic 3D and 2D levels that you go through that are referred to as like the cyberspace levels. Because what you have to do is as you progress through the open zones themselves, is what they call them rather than the open world, you'll need keys to get through certain areas or to solve certain puzzles or to defeat certain bosses. And the way you earn those keys is to go into cyberspace levels that you'll find along the way in the open zone, to then earn keys and that you earn keys depending on, if you collect all 6 red rings in the environment, or if you match a specific time going through the cyberspace levels. And there's a lot of interesting thing like carrots on the end of a stick to really make you continue to want to retry those cyberspace levels, to then get the best time, to then collect all the collectibles that are there, so then you earn more keys to unlock more stuff either for Sonic or just in the open zone areas. So I like the gameplay loop that's going on with this game. Plus, the open zones themselves are like really wide and spacious, because Sonic's a really fast character. And one of the things I was really worried about going into this game was them maybe not giving Sonic enough room to roam around, because he is so fast and he is a little bit harder to control than a lot of other open world protagonists. Like you can move through the open zone really, really quickly, especially if you use Sonic's boost at this point. So I love the way that the open zone itself is like tailored with Sonic in mind as a character. And I think there's a lot of good stuff with it. So I'm still, I just finished the first, the tutorial and then the first island. And then I'm on the second island now. So I'm not too far in the game, but I'm actually enjoying it a lot more than I even thought I was. And I was already coming into it expecting to like this game after seeing the preview coverage from this. Because I mean, we've come a long way from that IGN first that they showed that looked really dull, that looked like it didn't perform really well. Like the game actually plays pretty well on current gen consoles, especially if you played in the 60 frames per second mode instead of the 4K mode. And I'm having a blast playing this Sonic. It's just really fun.
I've gone from ooh, that looks rough to like I really want to play Sonic Frontiers, especially after the reviews dropped. And like I know it, I only got like a 74 on Metacritic or whatever. And I tweeted this out, but I have to remind everyone, a 7 isn't a bad score. All right. I know everyone likes to be, if it's not 8 or a 9, it's not worth playing. Like y'all need to play some 6s and 7s. Those games are really fun. So I almost bought it on Tuesday because I was like, should I just buy it and then play for a few hours before God of War? But I didn't. I was a responsible consumer instead, and because it'll probably go on sale very, very shortly. But
yeah, it's Sega. And Sega and Black Friday, they like to put all their games on sale. Also, one point I wanted to add with your Metacritic point as well, like I actually think the review score would have been much higher if it didn't get like the 3 of the negative reviews that it got, because it got multiple 1 out of 10 scores from outlets. Which basically puts it at a 20%, which totally skews that number. Like I actually think this game would actually have been much closer to an 8 out of 10 or an 80 on Metacritic if it wasn't for those scores.
How do you give a game a 1 out of 10? That's based like you give a game that doesn't like you can't actually play it a 1 out of 10. Like it's so functionally broken. That's a 1 out of 10. Sonic Frontiers, for what I said, like it's not a 1 out of 10. Who gave these people privileges to review games?
I don't know. That's why I was very confused about it. But again, it's one of those things where if you read the review itself, it's definitely negatively slanted, and it does raise some good points as to, so I can definitely understand, where the reviewer in question is coming from with this. But at the same time, it doesn't read at like the review itself doesn't read as a 1 out of 10 or a 20 out of 100. Like it reads like more like a 6 or a 7, which is totally fine.
Even if you don't like a game, because there have been games I've played and don't like, I don't really like this game, but objectively it's probably like a 5, and for me like a 5 or a 6. If you get below that, it's really like games don't work, everything's broken, like from a programming standpoint, it just makes no sense.
like games I would throw into that camp would be like Amy on PS3 or the Nagano Winter Olympics games on N64, where they literally copy and pasted the same game, but then named it something different and then sold it for $60 again. Like things like that, or even like FIFA Legacy Edition. What we see with that, it's just like that's like a 2 out of 10 kind of experience for me, rather than something like Sonic Frontiers.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Well, I'm excited for both those games, Ryan. I'm glad you're enjoying them. You're making me want to play them more. But the only game I've put time into this week is God of War Ragnarok. Obviously came out yesterday, so I am. It's gonna sound disgusting because I go, oh, he's got Mjolnir. He's got Mjolnir.
I have the power. Oh, this
That's
hammer's so
not-
cool.
That's He-Man, but I get what you're going for.
I know.
Ragnarok. It came out yesterday, and I have 15 hours in it. And don't ask me how that is.
So Kevin, how is
possible.
that? How did that happen? Tell me more.
Well, I had lots of free time last night and yesterday and today. So I've been doing nothing but playing God of War Ragnarok and going to the gym and doing anything that else is required, but mainly God of War, like eating and that, but mainly God of War. So I've been told I'm over halfway done, a little more than halfway done actually. So I will probably have this game wrapped up. I want to say early next week is probably when I'll get through it. Just because weekends tend to be a little busier for everyone. All right, Lachlan in the chat. Only game. Kevin plays all the games. Yeah, listen, everyone clowns on me for playing so many games, but I don't even play games on the weekend. Like Friday, Saturday, I don't play games. Okay.
Well, I think you're probably like me, because like, for example, Wednesday and Thursdays are my days off at my job, and like I work all weekend. So I'm like, I feel like you and I are in similar camps, because likewise, you and I both play like a similar number of games.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like most of my game playing all happens during the week and less of it on the weekend.
Yeah. So yeah, that is 100% me. I play my games after work and during the weekdays and not on the weekend so much. So man, I'm gonna save most of my thoughts for the Save the Game Media like review discussion, spoiler cast for God of War, because I know basically everyone over here is like super hyped and they just want to play it and talk about it. So I will say I don't know if I agree with it being a 94.
Ooh, there's some spice there. Tell me more, Kevin. What do you think? What's going on there? What's going on? What are your thoughts?
The game, first of all, it's gorgeous. It is fun to play. I don't know if so far, and maybe the ending nails it. Maybe the last the last chapters, really it picks up. Seems like a lot of like filler in certain points. It's more linear than 2018 in how I feel. I feel like there's a lot less like side quests and exploration. There is exploration, but I don't know. It's not giving me the same feeling I had when I played 2018. And I don't know if it's because like it's just kind of more of 2018, but people are like, "Oh, it's expanded," but like I don't know if I feel that way. I almost feel like they had this idea, it didn't make it into 2018, and then they've just kind of built it into a full game. I don't know how I'll have to sit with my thoughts and obviously finish the game, but I like it. I don't love it, and I don't know if I agree. Like I said, I don't think it's a 94 on Metacritic is where I'm personally at currently.
So 2 games actually came to mind while you were talking about that with me, Kevin, and correct me if I'm wrong. First of all, you obviously played Final Fantasy VII Remake, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of my biggest problems with Final Fantasy VII Remake is like, that chapter that you have where you're with the kids and stuff, and you're and the other chapter where you're like climbing Wall Market and stuff like that. Like it really felt like there was a ton of filler, where there was a lot of points in the game that just didn't really feel like they needed to be there. They just felt like, padding at that point. And that's kind of what it sounds like you're describing with some of the game, where I'm getting similar feelings with that. But the other game I also thought about was Horizon Forbidden West, where a lot of the reviews talked about with that game, that like it didn't, deserve a score higher than the original game because it was just more of the original game. And it
Mhm.
just didn't have the same, feeling that as you had as the original game. It wasn't as special. And that's kind of what I'm getting from you as well, where it almost feels like God of War might be in that camp as well, which is kind of what I was a little bit worried about going into God of War, where would it feel like a truly revolutionary experience, or would it just feel like more of God of War 2018?
Mhm.
Especially as someone who, like me, who personally like didn't love God of War 2018 nearly as much as a lot of other people. I still really
Mhm.
liked the game, but it wasn't like one of my, games of the generation or anything like that, the same way that it was for a lot of other people. So that's why I'm a little bit more worried now, where I'm like, oh, maybe if it's just more God of War 2018 for me, I don't know if I'm going to be, super into this game. And it probably just goes down further and further on my games to playlist to the point now where I'll probably just play it before our game of the year show at Carpool next month, just to be able to talk about it at least a little bit in game of the year context, but probably not much more than that.
It's funny you bring up Horizon because I I didn't really like Zero Dawn. I eventually got like so annoyed with Zero Dawn that I just put it on story mode and just like breezed through, like did completed the story, felt let down, and then I just played Forbidden West. And I going into it, I was like, I'm not going to even try to do like the open world. So I'm just going to start on story mode and get the story and see where Aloy goes. And I actually like Forbidden West story more than Zero Dawn. I was talking about this with Sean at Extra Life, and he's the opposite, where he likes Zero Dawn more than Forbidden West. But it was kind of just more of Zero Dawn. Like there wasn't any revolutionary gameplay changes, and that's kind of how I feel about God of War. And that's fine. They don't need to change that like God of War is good. It's still Ragnarok is still really good. Like I'm having a
Yeah.
great time. Obviously, I put 15 hours into it. I just I don't I don't think it's a 90. I don't think it's some revolutionary like
Yeah.
game of the generation
Like it's
already.
not
Like
Elden Ring, where Elden Ring, say what you will, but like, for someone like me, for example, who doesn't like Souls-born games,
me either.
I could definitely tell from playing that game that it was a revolutionary experience for that genre, and that's not what I'm getting, not the vibes I'm getting from something like God of War, where it's not reinventing, the action adventure genre, and even the way that
Mm-mm.
God of War 2018 did. But again, I haven't played it yet, so it's just I don't have a lot. I can't really say too much about it at this point.
Yeah, look, there's you speak Ghostly March in the chat said that's the worst chapter in Final Fantasy VII remake. I agree with that, and I want to tell you, there's one chapter in Ragnarok that gave me the exact same vibes. Where I'm
Oh
sitting there,
no!
I was sitting here playing. I was like, I want this to be over. I'm so bored being in this area. Like it dragged and like you do one thing, and then I was like, all right, can I leave now? They're like, all right, let's go over here. I'm like, make it stop. Just make it stop. I don't want to do this anymore.
That just hurts me to hear, Kevin.
Mhm.
I'm like, oh no. I'm glad at least I have after Star Ocean and Sonic to complete. I also have Tactics Ogre coming out on Friday
Which is
to
getting great
play.
reviews.
Yeah. And then in December, like that should take me till December when we got Callisto Protocol and Midnight Suns and Crisis Core. So
Man,
I'm set for a while now, probably.
so many good things coming out. Super excited. But we can move on to our news segment. So we're gonna go to the library. Have a seat while I grab this week's stories. Story number one. And spoiler, guys, it's been a slow news week. It's all about Ragnarok this week. Xbox clearly knew anything they put out was gonna be overshadowed. So, story
Mhm.
number one. Gears of War is getting a Netflix movie and TV show. Netflix announced that Xbox's third person shooter series, Gears of War, is set to be adapted to television. In an official announcement, Netflix announced they are partnering with the Coalition, the studio behind the latest Gears of War games, to produce a live action feature film and then an adult animated series. So, Ryan, I know you guys talked about this on the Xbox Drive yesterday, but what are your overall thoughts? You excited for a Gears of War, first of all, live action film and then adult series? What are you thinking?
So it depends because I'm just curious about what direction they're going to go in. And again, Sean and I talked about this a little bit yesterday, but first of all, I'm actually definitely more excited of the two of the adult animated series, especially after Arcane, after Cyberpunk, Edge Runners. Like, I feel like Netflix does a great job with their, animated video game TV shows. So I'm actually really excited that the coalition is working with Netflix to put together a Gears of War TV show. Like, that gets me really excited. I'm curious to know like what animation studio is going to be handling that, or what style they're going to go in, whether they go to like an American studio, or if it is like an anime done like Studio Trigger, for example, who did the Cyberpunk show, for example. Like, I'm curious to know what direction that goes in. So of the two, that's the one I'm most excited about. Live action Gears will be interesting. It'll also be interesting too if they like make the live action movie and then have it tie in directly into the TV series, or if they're going to be two completely different things from each other, or likewise, if they're going to even follow the games at this point. Like, one of the things that I've liked about Netflix's approach is that they haven't really been retelling the stories from the games. So I really hope that the direction they go in with this is they have like 3 or 4 other cogs that they're following, maybe, on Emergence Day or post Emergence Day. And we kind of get their story, and maybe it, intersects with Marcus's stories, from here or there. But I would like to see them kind of focus on new characters, because I always think that works better in these types of scenarios. And I think the only other case where it's really worked with established characters is something like Castlevania. But again, like, the source material for Castlevania, it's not like we had a lot of storytelling in the Castlevania games themselves, so they felt like new characters when they did that. Whereas Gears, it would be tough to do. Like, it would be weird to see someone else play Marcus Phoenix for then a movie, and then have someone else play him in like a TV show. Like, it would be weird to me for them to do that. But I'm curious to know what you think about this, Kevin, because again, I talked about it at length yesterday, but I want to know what your thoughts are.
So I love Gears of War personally. I've loved it since the first one came out on the 360. Obviously, the first 3 I think are better than the most recent ones, and I'm of the opinion Gears 4 is better than Gears 5. I know it's a hot take for a lot of people out there, but for me, the live action one, it's hard because Ghostly Mark says, I want to see Batista as Marcus, which that's our thumbnail, because I know Batista for a long time has pushed for a Gears of War thing. He wanted to be a part of it. So if he isn't a part of it, it would be almost weird to me. Whether he is Marcus or not, I don't know, because obviously they need to do auditions and like choose the actor that is right to play it, not just like, oh, he's big and bulky, like he looks like a Gears of War character.
Yeah.
For I'm excited to give the live action a chance.
Yeah.
I'm worried if they don't do the story, though, that you get something like the Halo TV show, because I don't know if you watched it, Ryan.
Oh, I saw the Halo TV show, but the problem with the Halo TV show is like the director's response to the notion of trying to follow any of the source material for Halo is like, no, we're just throwing that out. So it's just like, because like, yeah, like, and again, they weren't really working with 343 in the way that I'm expecting Netflix is working with the coalition. So I think that's kind of the main difference here.
I hope I would like to see the first game adapted into a movie, because I think the first game could be a good standalone film. The problem comes when you think, okay, does that mean if that movie is successful, they'll do the next games as another live action films? I think they need to make the animated series separate. I don't think you do the film and then continue it with the series. I think that'd be weird and jarring, especially because the chances of getting the live actors to come back and reprise their voice roles isn't a guarantee. So I think they need to do something like Cyberpunk Edge Runners for the TV show and just have it be separate. Just have their own thing in the Gears of War universe. They can reference things that are going in the games. I think that'd be cool, like Easter eggs. But for the live action, keep that one game focused, draw from the source material, and then you could do your own thing with the animated series. That's what I'd like to see.
Yeah. I think we're both kind of on the same track there, because I think even with the movie itself, to your point, I really hope they don't tie into each other. I hope that, they're very separate from each other. Or if they do tie in at all, it's like, hey, you see, these characters in the background, I guess, the characters that we're going to follow in the animated show as like a cameo or something, rather than it be, them like all about the same characters in both. Like I think that's probably the best approach to it. But it's just weird to me that they're doing both, because they usually, like when they get a game project like this, it's usually one or the other and not both. So that's why it's weird to me that they're doing both, I guess, and giving us the live action movie first and then the series afterwards. And then it sounds like they said that if they're successful, they'll do more stuff after that. So
I,
yeah.
I don't know why Netflix, the live action one confuses me, because their most successful properties or adaptations have been the animated stuff. So
Yeah.
they clearly know that because they've ordered an animated series. At what point do we just say, like, maybe we're going to skip live action video game stuff and we're just going to strictly keep it animated, because it's so much easier to translate the ridiculous stuff you see in video games to an animated TV show format.
Well, I mean, Japan's been trying to make live action anime be a thing for years, Kevin,
Oh my god,
clearly, and we've learned nothing from that. So, yeah,
I was just reminded of the live action Yu Yu Hakusho. Like, it came up. It was
yeah.
like, I'm like, I forgot they were making that. You've completely ruined this for me.
I mean, you've also got 5 live action Death Note movies in Japan, and then the live action Death Note movie on Netflix too, which was one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my entire life. But yeah, like I think the video games just in general, you're absolutely right. Like unless the game is like super grounded, like if it's a spy game, like if it's like Splinter Cell or something like that, of course that
Mhm.
makes sense for a live action movie, because
That would be
you're
dope.
not doing anything ridiculous in a Splinter Cell movie. It's about a secret agent, and that's something that probably works really well as like a live action TV show more than a series. But same kind of deal. But you're right, like a lot of like these fantasy or sci-fi things, of course they're going to work better as an animated feature, because it's just they can do so much more, so much more of the ridiculous stuff in the animated format. So I agree with you on that.
It's just hard to make someone look cool wearing like that giant bulky armor. Like,
Yeah.
it just doesn't look natural. It looks weird. You're like,
Oh,
what are you
come on. They did a
doing?
great job of making Chief look good in his armor in
No,
real life.
no, no. Yeah, and then they took that. They knew it looked bad, so that's why they kept him out of it the whole time.
Or just and just had him with his helmet off and stuff, which is fine.
Uh,
That's Chief all the time. He just walks around without the suit on all
that's
the
the one
time.
I know. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the Master Chief I know.
Good
Well,
God.
I'm excited for that to see what happens, but we can go on to story number 2. There's some drama at id Software. Now, Ryan, I don't know if you remember, but a few years ago, around the time Doom Eternal was released, there was a falling out between id Software and longtime soundtrack producer Mick Gordon. Well, Mick Gordon yesterday released a statement that everyone should read. I'm not going to read it on the show. It is way too long, but luckily, my buddy Ethan here, normally co-hosting, did a little summary write-up of what Mick Gordon said. So he accuses id Software studio director Marty Stratton of lying about the circumstances involved with Doom Eternal soundtrack. In summary, Mick says that the studio offered an original soundtrack album for special editions without having a contract done to create said original soundtrack. And when Mick Gordon reached out to Stratton to get a deal, Stratton refused. Mick Gordon alleged he went almost a year multiple times without getting paid, was not allowed to participate in audio meetings, that an original soundtrack was ordered before they had a concept of gameplay, and that he worked under heavy crunch and more. Ryan, I'm gonna throw it over to you. Are you familiar with the situation, and did you read Mick Gordon's statement?
So I did not. I saw the length of that statement, Kevin, before we
Yeah.
started recording today. I'm like, I'm just gonna let Kevin summarize this before we go into it. But yeah, because we heard about Mick Gordon and id Software, when Doom Eternal was coming out. To your point, so it's interesting that they went, like, I don't understand like id Software's point of view of why they would just skirt around him like this and just release stuff without asking him and then not paying him. It seems weird to me. But we also, like, as far as I know, we got the statement from Mick, but we haven't really gotten a response from id yet about this, right? As far as I know. Yeah, so we're still waiting to hear from that. So I'm curious to hear what they have to say about that, if there's a specific reason why contractually they had to do it this way, or maybe they can't talk about it because of NDAs. That's something we talked about it, during the Bayonetta fiasco last month. But it's interesting that they would handle it this way, especially because Mick had been, working with id for years and years and years, not just on Doom Eternal, but also the original Doom, and then other projects as well.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's weird that they would just do it this way. So I'm curious to know if there's more to it than what Mick's letting on here. But what do you think, Kevin?
So from what I gather, he released this in response to a Reddit post that Marty Stratton had made. I assume it was like an Ask Me Anything or something in response that really prompted him to be like, okay, I'm going to set the record straight here. They're lying. It's not a good look. I don't like to take sides in this, especially when information could still come out. I think Helena Taylor and Platinum Games have taught us don't start throwing your horse behind certain people. But from everything I've seen, because you have former id Software employees retweeting this on Twitter now, they seem to be, even when your own studio former employees, I don't know if any current ones, seem to be backing not the studio they worked at in this. It makes me feel like Mick Gordon is probably telling the truth, but I would like to see an official response either from id Software, from Xbox, to get this sorted out, because it's not a good look.
Absolutely not. Like, if everything that Mick said in his statement is true, then definitely that is not a good look for id. And I think it boggles my mind as to why they would go through such lengths to then keep him out of that process.
He said he wasn't allowed to participate in audio
meetings. Like, it's so weird to me.
That's his job.
Well, it's not even just that. It's like, because a lot of game soundtracks, they're not always integrated into the gameplay itself or the way the game plays. But Mick's soundtrack in particular for Doom, like, for example, when you use the machine gun, you then hear like little clips of like the music from that of Mick's music play as you're shooting the gun, and like in time with the music itself. So it's such a big part of that experience that it's weird to me that they wouldn't include him on that stuff, which is why, again, if everything he's saying is true, that's like, it still boggles my mind, and it's definitely not a good look here.
Yeah, it's crazy. I want an official response. I don't know, maybe they'll handle things behind the scenes legally, which listen, the big issue is, like, if he was crunching, are other people at the studio crunching, or are other people not getting paid? He's just bringing up a lot of issues, and obviously he was a contractor, so it all depends on not just him but other people. I think it really, he's trying to bring something to light here, and we need to not immediately go to the fence of one side or the other. But
yeah, I'm waiting for that Jason Schreier article to just come out of nowhere with here's the real story of what happened here.
That would be good. If he could do some digging, we'll certainly bring it back up. I did just want to make everyone aware, but like I said, go read the actual art, or the actual thing. It's super long. I think it took Ethan almost like 30 minutes to get through it, and this was his summary.
It's like 30 or 40 pages or something. It's ridiculous.
It's crazy. He's fair play to him if you're taking the time to write that much. But do you know, Ryan, that today the Xbox Series X and S turned 2? Happy birthday to the Xbox!
Hooray!
And we have a question about this. So coming from Eric Rivera, from our friend of the show over on X2 Interact, he says, today marks 2 years since the Xbox Series X and S have launched. 2 years in, what are some of your favorite things about the console, and some things you don't like about the console?
Oh,
so if you need some time, I can go first.
Oh no, so I'm thinking. So obviously, there's a lot to like about the Series X. I mean, quick resume is a great new feature. I really enjoy, being able to keep your games open and keep them suspended, because I do think that they have a much better system than what PlayStation launched with. I think now PlayStation added this, resume option for every game that you have on your console, that you can actually quickly jump into any game at this point that works similarly to quick resume. So I think like that was a really good feature that they had there for a while. But also, back compat is amazing on Series X. I love that being able to go back and play old games with new improvements, especially the FPS boost added to the games that they added. FPS boost was actually a really awesome achievement, especially with some of the games like Fear, for example. Like having that with FPS boost, I think was like a really awesome game to get that, because the reason why, one of the reasons why like the reviews were so poor for that game when it came to 360 in the first place was mostly because of the frame rate for the game. So getting that performance juiced up a little bit on Series X is one of my favorite things about the console. And then least favorite things Honestly, there's not a lot I don't really like, but the one that stands out to me is the dashboard, because you've got these really pretty dynamic themes, and you kind of know where I'm going with this one.
Mm-hmm.
You got these pretty dynamic themes, but you've got all your icons and advertising totally blocking everything, and I'm like, I wish they would, shift things around a little bit so you can see more of the dynamic backgrounds, because like the Halo Infinite dynamic background looks really cool. It's got stuff flying in the background and whatnot, but you can't see any of that stuff because all your icons are in the way of it. So that's kind of one of my downsides with the console. But honestly, like I've really enjoyed my Series X over the last 2 years because I did get one at launch, and I have really enjoyed my time with it over the last 2 years. And I really just don't have a lot of faults with the console. I think it's a pretty dang good console. But what about you, Kevin?
So I agree with everything you just said. Quick resume is my favorite feature on the Xbox. I use it constantly for single player games, especially. It just makes jumping in and out of especially JRPGs super easy. Absolutely love that feature. The dashboard, I don't mind it. I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's too cluttered. And then I'm like, okay, well, go look at the one they're testing for insiders and then come back to me because that one's atrocious. I don't want that one. Game Pass is my favorite thing about the console. If we're being honest, like Game Pass is undoubtedly, it just allows me to play so many games, so many new things that I haven't been able to jump into. Like I played Tinykin and I absolutely adore that game. Like it's one of my favorite games this year, and I wouldn't have been able to play it without Game Pass. Some things I don't like about the console. I'm not sure. Batteries. Having to, even though I have a rechargeable battery pack, it's still the fact that like it doesn't just come with a built-in, like, oh, you plug your controller in with a cable. It has like an internal battery. I think Xbox needs to get rid of that. That is something they need to work on. Although I used my battery pack from last generation, so the fact that like they're interchangeable, I do like that consistency.
They wanted to, they chose, instead of moving away from the battery packs, they chose to keep everything uniform. So if you want to use your Xbox One controllers and stuff like that, you could. Whereas if they totally overhauled it, we'd have like a PS5 situation where you wouldn't be able to use your old accessories, or I might not be able to use my Rock Band guitar controller, with my Series X without some kind of like dongle or something like that.
I don't know if it's the Xbox One, but I know there is a dongle for older. It might be
for 360.
Yeah, 360. Yeah, because
you can use that.
Because my friend had to get a dongle, and we ordered it especially to play Rock Band.
Well, especially like with the main reason to get that now, especially too, is because the Rock Band 4 like full band kit is so stupidly expensive on eBay at this point. It's like, the cheaper route is to just buy the adapter, even if it's $100, and then get all the 360 instruments.
They stopped making like guitars, and I'm like, I don't know what to do when they break. Like,
because I have my Rock Band, my one Rock Band 4 guitar, but God forbid if something ever happens to it, I'm gonna be very sad, Kevin. I don't know what I'm gonna do at that point.
One of my other favorite things is that the Xbox is small enough to travel. PlayStation. Like I'm not bringing my PS5 anywhere, all right? Especially after
come on, Joe brought his. He had no problem.
That was the only thing that I don't know how they brought them. First of all, like I looked at it and I thought about bringing it, and I was like, Xbox gives me like a nice little. If you kept the original box, it has like almost a built-in like little carry case, and then PlayStation is just like, we just threw it in there. Have fun, but. Ryan, that is all we have for this week. Actually, a shorter episode for you folks, but thank you for stopping by. I appreciate you coming, filling in for Ethan. Do you want to let people know where they can find you?
Absolutely. So if you want to hear more from me talking about the weather or RPGs or, Sega Genesis, you're going to head out over to Carpool Gaming, run YouTube, Twitter, everywhere, just at Carpool Gaming on all your platforms. We're even on TikTok, making those TikToks, those Carpool Gaming TikToks. And then you can find me on Twitter at Ryan Turford as well, Turford, because everybody always asks how it's spelled. And I think that's it for me. And again, I mostly talk about RPGs and old retro games and stuff like that. That's more my jam. But Kevin, what about you? Where can people find you?
You can find me at the Muffin Mon over on Twitter. It's a 1 instead of an I and an O instead of an A. You could follow us at Save Game Media. No the on Twitter because it's too long. They told me you gotta cut it out. So Save Game Media over on Twitter. Stay up to date with all of our latest videos, podcasts. We literally have content coming out every single day, including an embargoed review dropping tomorrow morning. If you're interested in that, check it out. And until next week, though, we'll see you.